Back live from Sim Racing Chicago on location in Algonquin, Illinois. Hi everybody, I'm Kyle Heyer, joining you for the last race of the day, Group A for the Sim Racing Chicago special event. 30 drivers from all around the country have converged on this state-of-the-art esports facility to do battle for a grand prize, real seat time in a WRL or a Champ car. And there's also some other prizes at stake for the rest of the podium finishers, but it has all come down to this. Our top 10 drivers, after qualifying all day today, this race coming up is where they're going to decide a victor. 7 minutes and 50 seconds remain here in qualifying that will set the grid, but have a look at the scenes here at Sim Racing Chicago. This is as I said, a state-of-the-art facility in Algonquin, Illinois. 10 sims, all with direct drives and motion and all the gizmos and gadgets you can think of attached to the rig. It is an absolutely awesome atmosphere here. The room is filled with people spectating, participating, and watching. Glad to be with you here today on what is outside of the facility, a pretty dreary day. So happy to be inside in Sim Racing Chicago. We'll head down to the racetrack here in just a moment, but we'd like to take you through a lap at Road America. They call this place the National Park of Speed. 4.048 miles around, 14 corners. It is known as being one of the classic North American road racing circuits. Population 1,000 in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. They began racing here in the early 1950s. The permanent circuit was built in 1955. It has changed very little since then. Still 4.048 miles, 14 turns. It all starts with a run down the front straightaway into turn number 1. Climb the hill just a little bit down there, then into turns 2 and 3. You're down into the turn number 3 that leads you onto the back straightaway. 3 is such an important corner because it leads you onto this incredibly long straightaway, down the hill into turn 5, which is perhaps your best passing opportunity. Then up the hill towards turn number 6. That will lead you onto the Corvette Bridge. The track falls away from you as you come up over the crest. Then at 7, 8, and 9 and 10, that's the carousel, those last 2 corners that lead you into the kink. The kink, a feared corner in North American road racing. Think of the corkscrew, think of the S's at Watkins Glen. It is narrow, it is fast, and it will bite you if you make a mistake. Then through the beautiful tree-lined forest alongside Road America, that will lead you into Canada Corner. That's the corner number 12. Then Billy Mitchell Bend, turn 13, and turn 14. That will finish your excursion around the National Park of Speed. 5 minutes left here in qualifying. Here's the times up on the board for you in our 6 sims. Some names you're familiar with if you've been following along. Former Coca-Cola Esports iRacing driver. That's Matt Busa behind the wheel of the number 6 machine. We've seen this car win a race. It won race 2 just moments ago, and he is on the same sim. Sim number 6, and again, we've got them from left to right for you. Sim 6, I believe, is going to be the middle one in your shot here. Then the right bank, that's going to be sims 7, 8, 9, and 10 in the shot. No one in sim number 10 in this one, so we'll leave it as is. Busa at the top of the board right now, and then it's the number 9, sim number 9 behind the wheel, and that is Papadinskis. That is Tom Papadinskis that's behind the wheel of that, and Harris Papadinskis right behind him in 3rd place. That's actually a number 9 car. It was the 7 car that snuck up in there. That is Tom up into 2nd place with a 2:17.98. Then it's Doug Metzel in the number 8 car. He rides in 4th right now, followed by sim number 5. That car being driven by none other than Carter Pease in this race. Then in sim number 3, it's going to be Jim Patak behind the wheel. Sim number 1, that's driven by Robert Ridgway. And then sim number 4, with no time yet on the board, that is going to be Nate Olson behind the wheel. So those are your 8, make that 9 competitors for this final race of the day. And like I said, the winner of this race gets seat time in either a WRL or Champ Car entry. That is the ultimate prize, winning in iRacing. Big thanks again to Sim Racing for Chicago for having me out. This has been an absolute pleasure. Hope to be with you some more in the future, but thanks for joining us here wherever you're watching, whether you're here or online, following along in real time. 4 minutes left here in qualifying, and times continue to get laid down. Best time for Busa is a 2:17.283. He just ran that, and these are the fastest drivers of the day. We've ran Group C, Group B, and now Group A. This is the cream of the crop. This is the top of the line of the drivers that have been here today. But we've seen trouble in the early moments of both races. the C race in particular, the kink caught out a lot of drivers. Bussa navigates it now in his red and white Porsche Cayman. Watch him navigate it. It's such a fast corner. You have to trust your car, trust the downforce level that it does have. This is a GT4 spec Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 Club Sport MR. And it has about 450 horsepower, a little bit of downforce to go with it, and really good brakes, really big tires to help it stick to the road here at Road America. Bussa up the hill through Billy Mitchell Bend, being chased now by Nate Olson, who is second quick on the board at a 2:17.557. He just did that last time by, so he's up in the mix as well, currently provisionally on the outside of the front row. Then in position number 3, it is sim number 7. That is Tom and Harris, right now P3 and P4 in the 7 and the 9 car. There's Papadinskis heading down into turn number 1. 147 miles an hour before you jump down to 4th gear. A little bit wide there at the exit of turn number 1, dirt tracking it for a moment, and accelerating down towards turn number 3. Very close between Doug Metzel in sim number 8 and in Carter Pease's position. He's only 90 thousandths behind the 5th place car, so that's going to be a tight gap there. It's a 2:18.367 to a 2:18.457 between those two. So still very much in contention in the final couple minutes here in qualifying. Here's Metzel heading down towards turn number 5, all on his own. That was corrected that Bussa is still actively in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series and continues to be competing in that esports championship. That is iRacing's biggest championship. Tens of thousands of dollars on the line there. And Bussa is showing his road course stuff. I was asking Matt earlier, I recognized his name from another esports championship that I broadcasted in the past. I thought it was the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada, but that wouldn't make any sense. What it was the Spec MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge was what Bussa had done. That was a couple of years ago now, but Bussa in command of this lead right now by 0.2 of a second here in qualifying. There's Olson on the binders into turn number 5. And just 0.4 behind him is Papadinskis. And Harris Papadinskis. Less than a second between your top 4, less than 2 seconds between your top 8. And as I mentioned earlier, it's so easy to find yourself a couple seconds off here at Road America. A 10th off in every corner, 14 turns, 1.4 seconds. And that is a big difference around a track that's 4 miles long. So you certainly want to mitigate any places where you're losing ground. And I mentioned that the corners you need to nail. Turn 14, you're looking at it. Turn 3 is another turn that is absolutely important because it leads onto one of the longest straightaways on the racetrack. All the way down to turn number 5. You can't even see both ends of the straightaway from the same camera shot. Ditto with turns 10 and the kink, that turn number 11, because that will lead all the way down the back straightaway, or what is, I guess you could consider a straightaway, into Canada Corner. Probably your 3rd, maybe 4th passing opportunity on the racetrack. As we saw earlier, a lot of 90-degree bends here at Road America. Your passing zones, turns 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 12. Those are the best spots to do it. You can do it elsewhere, but you have to be forceful with it. Even turn 6 in particular on the opening lap can get you in trouble as the track falls away from your car heading over the crest. There's one last look at Road America, the National Park of Speed. Checkered flag flies here on qualifying. Drivers can complete their flying laps, and Bussa looks like he's going to roll to a stop. In chase is Nate Olson, who does a 2:17.499. It is not good enough because Bussa just ran the first 2:16 that we've seen today, a 2:16.989, the fastest lap we've seen all afternoon here at Sim Racing Chicago. Other drivers finishing up their laps now. Tom Papadinskis working his way down through turn number 8. He's got plenty of traffic ahead of him, but they'll get one last opportunity to cross the stripe and input a better time. And it looks like Tom is up a little bit as it stands. Up about a couple tenths of a second, but this could be big. Go from row 2 to row 1 if he can improve on this time. A little bit of slipstream from the car ahead as well. Bit of a wiggle of the wheel there as he got into the curbing at the exit of the kink. They keep adding curbing to that area to make it give you a little bit more racetrack to catch yourself if you run wide, but it is not smooth curbing. It will rattle your skull and knock your teeth out. It's a pretty rough racetrack. They just repaved this place in the 2022 off-season. This is not represented here in iRacing, so the grip level is still as it was a couple of years ago. And it looks like Papadinskis' final run of the line here. Will it be an improvement? One car spins. That was the number 9 car. That was Harris Papadinskis. And up to the stripe, Slipstream's going to help a lot. Will it be good enough for second place? He would need to beat a 2:17.499 across the stripe. 2:17.844. It is not good enough to advance. He will stay in position number 3. Checkered flag here on qualifying. And before we head into the race here, one final reminder that we are live on site from Sim Racing Chicago here in Algonquin, Illinois. State-of-the-art sim racing arcade facility. This is really, if you're a sim nerd and you're in the Chicago area, come check this out. It's about a 45-minute drive from Chicago downtown, and let me tell you, this is one of the best setup places I've ever seen like this, and I don't think there's a lot of places like this in general. It's just such a cool facility, and happy to be a part of it. Field will grid in just a moment, and we'll be turning them loose for 30 minutes. That will decide our winner, the one that will get to race for real in virtual reality, virtual to reality here at Road America in iRacing and at Sim Racing Chicago. Look at the bustling around as everyone decides what sim they're going to look over the shoulder of and look on the screens from high above, mounted up on the ceiling here as we get prepped. 14 laps is what we'd expect. We've seen 13 so far, but we'll get a full pace lap to run through your starting order and shake things down before we turn everybody loose. I anticipate some good battles in this field. We've seen them these races get progressively more entertaining throughout the afternoon. And I think this last one is going to be one to watch. And I'm Kyle Heyer. Thanks for joining me here today at Sim Racing Chicago. One last race to finish things off. We got a podium celebration, and we'll crown our race winner. But cars are rolling, and now begins the process of heating up the tires and heating up the brakes, getting these cars prepped for action at the 4-mile behemoth of Road America. Doubled up 5 rows deep. Starting lineup on the left-hand side of the screen. Let's run through it now. In row number 1, kicking things off in position number 1, that is Matt Busa behind the wheel. He will start in first on the inside of that first row, followed by Nate Olson in that monster-colored number 4 machine. In row number 2, it's going to be Tom and Harris Papadinskis. They're going to start alongside each other in positions 3 and 4. Doug Metzel is going to start in row number 3 in sim rig number 8. And then alongside him will be Carter Pease in the number 5 rig. Row 4 is going to be, that is Dimitri Pisios, who will start in position number 7 in the number 2 machine off to my left. And then he'll start alongside Jim Patak, who is an avid iRacer. We'll see him probably climb his way up through the field. And bringing up the rear of the field is Robert Ridgway in sim number 1, all the way over there by Dimitri. He will start alongside nobody, because there is no 10th driver for this race. 9 competitors kicking things off here in this one. Field heads up towards turn number 6. It is a pleasure to be with you. Much nicer inside than out today as we approach. I think we just hit the spring equinox the other day, but finally seeking spring as we get towards the racing season. Racetracks across the country and the world coming alight with sound and sights. And in iRacing, we do it year-round. I think sometimes we take that for granted, the ability to race each other all year, all times, all cars. Can't necessarily climb into Porsche Cayman at will on your own in real life, but you certainly can here in iRacing. Doubled up and getting set for this 30-minute event. 13 laps is what we'll do. It'll be timed, though. It'll be a 30-minute race. And it'll be, I'm going to guess it's going to come down to the final 5 minutes or so. But everyone here having to adapt to very good equipment, but different equipment than perhaps what they're used to at home. Again, all the sims here equipped with motion and direct drive. And again, motion is something that's I don't want to say inaccessible, but difficult to install yourself at a home rig. But here at Sim Racing Chicago, everybody's got it. Everybody's using it. It's going to be a blast to watch them kind of shake around as they hit the curbs here at Road America. And again, just getting used to those different sensations in the attempt to simulate the seat of the pants feel that you get behind the wheel of a real race car. Some of these drivers have driven a long way to be here today to compete with us. All the way up to Algonquin, Illinois. Like I said, Sim Racing Chicago, located about 45 minutes north of downtown Chicago. Come check it out if you have not seen it. It is such a cool place. Lit up, colored, and it is just an absolutely phenomenal place to watch racing, to participate in racing in virtual motorsport. Going for prizes in this last race. This is the final and most competitive race of the day. The winner after 30 minutes will get to race for real, perhaps kickstarting a racing career they didn't know they could have. It is time to kick things off from the National Park of Speed. 14 corners, 13 times. Here we go, up the hill, packed up, paired up, 5 rows deep. Busa in command in the red car to the inside, and over the crest they will come. They're going to see the green flag in the hands of the starter, and here it comes. Green flag flies. We're racing at Road America one final time at Sim Racing Chicago. A nice clean getaway from Matt Busa. He goes defensive on Olsen down towards turn number 1. Now moves back to the left, back to the racing line. His drivers behind them vie for position into turn 1. Looks like Dimitri Pisios is going to be the middle of it. Ooh, that's tight down there through turn number 1. Sim number 9, that's driven by Papadinskis. He's going to lose a couple spots in all this as Olsen goes to the inside and takes the lead away from Busa at turn number 3. That was a great pass there, and early does it. We've seen the leader get to the lead on the opening lap and drive away, but Busa's not going to let that happen. Will he settle in? Will he go for it again? Side by side behind them. This is number 2 and number 5. Pisios and Pease side by side for 6th place. And it looks like for now, Pisios is going to win that battle. He's in the silver car. Pease to the inside in the white car. Took a swipe at him at corner number 5, but did not get alongside him, so they will remain nose to tail. Here comes Pease now up the inside at turn 6. This is tough on the opening lap. It's a tight, narrow corner. Pass complete. Give Pease P6. Pisios will drop into 7th place now. Going the wrong direction here early, but will throttle up and try to carry on. Nate Olsen, though, look at the drive that he has done so far. Passed Busa in turn 3 and has put 0.6 of a second on him by the time they hit the carousel. Now in 3rd place is number 7. That's Tom Papadinskis, and behind him Doug Metzel and Harris Papadinskis. This is for 4th. And into the kink for the first time. In Group C, this was a disaster zone, a junkyard of Porsches. This time, though, one car off. Was that Metzel? A little bit wide there in the Castrol car. Keeps it on course. That was Metzel, and man, that was dicey there for a moment. And even, how about some side-by-side? Jim Patak here. He is battling with Robert Ridgway down into Canada corner. Another great passing opportunity, but another place that is kind of a pinch point when you're side-by-side. Ridgway in the number 1 car is going to, looks like he's going to drop in behind Jim Patak, who takes over 8th place. Lap 1 complete. We've had a lead change. How many more will we have? There's the advantage for Nate Olsen. 0.8 and growing as Busa sees that number 4 get smaller out the windshield and across the stripe to complete their first of what could be about 13 laps worth of racing. Maybe 14 here with the pace that we're running in this one versus the previous 2. We'll see how it shakes out. Line to stern, everyone made it through without any incidents on the first lap. 6.5 seconds covering our 9-car field after 1 lap of racing. Still many left to go. An eye on Tom Papadinskis closing in on Busa here. This is at turn 3. Focusing out the windshield best he can because he's got Harris Papadinskis right behind him. Those two related here to racing together, and they are nose to tail on the racetrack. And in behind, Pease and Pisios. We documented that battle for 6th a little while ago. Not completely sure that we've completely sorted this one yet. Here's Pisios on board now into turn 5 on the binders in the number 2 car. Drops a tire on the inside curb to hook the corner and accelerate up towards turn number 6. And as I mentioned, the track falls away from you here. The track goes up and then it flattens out. And as you come up over the crest, especially in a faster car, you kind of feel those front tires almost leave the ground. You lose that front grip for a moment, and you're braking and trying to shift that weight back forward, but by the time you turn in, sometimes it's too late to get massive understeer there, and you can really run yourself off the track yourself. But Pisios navigates it nicely and keeps the pressure on Carter Pease just ahead of him for 6th place. up in the front, though. It's almost a second gap. There is your leader, Olsen, into the kink now for the second time. 9/10 of a second. Racking out to the edge of the road. There's Busa. There's Papadinskis. Other Papadinskis, and here's Metzel now in 5th place. That's going to be a tongue twister to say that name a whole bunch of times. Into Canada corner, though. Doug Metzel narrowly avoiding calamity a lap ago in the kink. Looks like he's got this thing pointed the right direction. A little bit of understeer, uses all the road at the exit of Canada corner, but he's got drivers closer to his rear bumper than his front, so he's got to make sure he's focusing forward and trying to close that gap up to 4th. Getting dramatic behind in 6th, 7th, and 8th. He's PCO's Patak. And it looks like a pass here as looks like there was a bit of a struggle there for the leading group. That was the Carter Pease car. He's going to drop a position or 2 as Patak gets by, and so does PCO. So 2 spots in 1 corner lost for Carter Pease in that final turn. Let's go back and watch what happened again there as he got through turn 14. I think he just missed the apex. It's such a critical turn to get right. On the grass, you see the car wiggle just a little bit and then drops the tires on the left on the way out of the corner, and that's what did him in. They're still battling, though, at turn number 3. These 3 cannot let each other go, and now it's going to be Patak that takes the spot, and Pease and PCO side by side as they were on the opening lap now, down towards 5. It's all a drag race from the run that left turn 3. Big block there by Pease into 5, going defensive, and look at the lunge from behind from the one of Robert Ridgway, closing the gap, and looks like PCOS is off wide at 5. He'll lose another spot, maybe 2. Here comes the one of Ridgway up into the mix. This is a battle for 8th place now, and he's up into position. Great run there down the inside, spooked everybody out of the way. While this is settled, this is not. Battle for 3rd place here. Papadinskis is trading positions here. Harris past Tom. Into the carousel now, nose to tail. They've just traded positions. Maybe to see if Harris can put any more pressure on Matt Busa up in 2nd place. The gap to them, 2.8 seconds. Through the kink, following so closely. Even in a GT4 car, you have to watch the wash on the nose. Any cars with more power and more downforce, again, you lose the ability for that air to push your car down on the racetrack when you are in behind another car. It's an advantage on a straightaway because they're pushing the air out of the way for you. You get to the corner, you need that air on the rear wing. Think of the rear wing like an airplane wing. Airplane wings make it go up, race car wings make it go down. They basically flip the airfoil over, and that's what makes you stick to the road. And you need all the air you can get to make it do that as these drivers continue to battle for 3rd place here. Leaving turn 14. Harris is off, Tom goes back by, they trade positions, but he's also going to lose a spot here to Doug Metzel, who takes the run to the inside and grabs 4th place away from Harris. Pass for position there as we approach 10 minutes into this race, and for 8th place. Ridgway, but not for long because PCOS is back and ready to party. Here he comes in the mix, takes a look into turn 1, later on the brakes, no, just trying to spook Ridgway into overdriving. He did not do it, though. Great defense from Ridgway to stay focused out the windshield and not get distracted by PCOS in the mirror, popping out of line. That is just a distraction tactic to make you look up for just a moment and go, where did that car go? And while you're looking around, you're going to miss your mark. Down the straightaway now. Here comes PCOS in the slipstream, trailing that number 1 car. Will he do the same thing at 5 as he did at 1? Late brakes from Ridgway. PCOS rolls off the brakes a little sooner in the braking zone, but look at the run he gets out at turn 5. Now at turn 6, Ridgway will be vulnerable, but got enough of a run to protect it for now. Ridgway working his way through 6 and 7 now, as PCOS keeps the pressure on. This is one of the closest battles on the track. There are others. We will take you there when they get spicy. For now, this one's the one of choice. PCOS dive into 8. Not enough overlap, or any overlap to speak of there. Not close enough. Meanwhile, Papadinskis and Doug Metzel. This is going to fire off again pretty shortly, I fear, for Metzel, who took advantage of Harris off track at turn 14 last time by. I think Harris is a little quicker on pace. We should see it come back his way. A little bit wide there through the kink and had to lift early. Gave up some time on corner exit. into Canada Corner. It is a 3-horse race for third place. Tom Papadinskis, then it's Doug Metzel, then it's Harris Papadinskis, all battling for a top 3 in this one. Prizing for the top 3, but the big prize is P1. And Nate Olson, he hasn't set sail like we've seen in the prior 2 races, but he is holding a pretty constant gap, a 1.2 second advantage over Matt Busa. But can Busa run him back down? Here's a look. Best lap for Olson, a 2:17.405. That time through, though, Busa gained 3/10. Could the lead come back his way as we go back for the battle between Papadinskis and Doug Metzel into turn 1? This is tight and tidy here for position. Here comes a look for 4th. Papadinskis later on the brakes. No, Metzel outbrakes, clobbers the rear of Tom, who keeps it on course somehow. I have no idea how he kept that car on track. That was almost disaster. Great driving. That was almost certainly going to be a trip to the gravel trap. Contact from behind, pow, and he had enough brake power left to keep it on the road. That was a race-saving maneuver there to hang on to it. Meanwhile, Ridgway, Carter Pease, and Picios continue their three-car scrap for 7th. A little bit of a defensive line there from Ridgway. Here comes Pease to the outside. Braking zone for 5. You got that rumble strip on the right that'll destabilize the car. And here comes Picios up the inside, dragging some gravel with him. He wants position, but these 2 ahead of him, just a little bit better run out of the corner up to turn 6. 7th, 8th, 9th. Close battle here for position, as the lead between Olson and Busa is down under a second, now just over. It's on the brink of being under a second for the first time since lap 2. It's now lap 5, 20 minutes to go, make that 19. Go back to Tom Papadinskis and Doug Metzel, who came together at turn number 1. We saw the contact there, let Harris get through, but Metzel trying to get by Tom as well, this time without contact as they sweep through the kink. Almost off course again. Every time the racing line will take you right to the edge, and off track into the wall goes Picios, bounces off the concrete, now into the Armco, and he will fall out of the battle he's been in. Not what he needed there. Just trying to get a little bit too much. Cracks out, drops a tire in the dirt, and then, yeah, just every time. If I had a nickel for every time a car bounced off that concrete wall at Road America, I could buy the place. Picios back in 9th place. Up front, the lead is restabilized at 1.1 to 1.2 seconds. Olson leads as we close in on halfway. Remember, what's at stake here at Sim Racing Chicago today is a chance to drive in the WRL or in a Champ Car. We are live from the Sim Racing Chicago facility. All 9 drivers in this race are here with us today, having traveled from all over the country, some local, some not, in this esports competition utilizing the iRacing software and racing virtual Porsche Caymans in a very real context. Look at this battle here. Here comes Metzel past Tom Papadinskis, this time without contact to lead to it. And Tom will have to rebound this time on the back straight, but the run that Doug got is going to put him off in the distance for now. Another zip code for the moment, but Tom's going to want to move back in. Here he comes in the braking zone at turn 5. Will he close the gap? Slightly, but Doug Metzel takes 4th place. And back behind them, once again, Ridgway, and this time it's Carter Pease up the hill again at turn 6. They have swapped positions a handful of times, losing track of who was what and where and when. But they continue their scrap, not for a podium, but for 7th place. And sometimes the biggest smiles come from those that were battling fiercely for position, even outside of the top 5. Here's a look from Ridgway up the inside at turn 8. Just enough space there from Pease to make that corner work out all right. As we sometimes say, the worst thing that can happen by leaving someone room to race is that you have a great race. And meanwhile, Jim Patak, remember where he started this race? Tell you, 8th place, second to last. He is up to 6th now and running down Tom Papadinskis, who's fallen backwards in this race. Here comes Patak with a good run up the inside of Canada Corner, later on the brakes. Not close enough to have overlap, but certainly making Papadinskis sweat just a little bit. Good battles all over the racetrack. It is still a second between Olson and Busa. Whoa, big of a slide there by Carter Pease at the exit of turn 13. Billy Mitchell-Bendt, he had his hands full with that one. And as he leaves turn 14, it's going to have Ridgway right behind him. Here's what happened as he left turn 13. Billy Mitchell-Bendt grabs the grass, and that was very close to being a crash there. Great job to keep it on course, but now can he defend from the tracking car behind him? That's Robert Ridgway, who's going to pop out of line here towards the end of the straight. Here he comes. Battle for 7th place into turn 1. He's on the outside. Ridgway to the inside. Ridgway takes the move and completes the pass on corner exit. Well done. Great clean pass there by the number 1. But what does Pease have to do in response? Better run on corner exit. And we're hearing that Doug Metzel in the number 8 car, because of the collision at, I believe this was the collision at turn number 1, will get a plus 5-second penalty. So what that means for Doug is that he has got to establish some distance between himself and the next closest driver, because he's going to have 5 seconds added to his time post-race. He's currently 4th. That would put him in 7th place as it stands, or at least 6th place, I believe. So that would drop him down a couple of positions. Something to keep note. Got to keep your hands clean in these races to get the prizing, to get on the podium. Here's Patak launching an attack on Papadinskis here for 5th place. Half this race remains here at Sim Racing Chicago. 14 minutes and 35 seconds for Nate Olson to hang on. He has been clinging to a 1-second gap, but Busa is threatening to eat into it every single lap. It's a 10th here, a 10th there, give it, take it. But Busa was faster in qualifying. He's gonna have to tune his pace. He's still in the slipstream and just hanging tough here to the back of Nate Olson. And behind, Ridgway and Pease back at it again, this time in Canada corner. He's a little bit of a shallow entry to the turn. Drop the right side tires in the dirt. That will slow him up just momentarily. But still one of the closest battles on the track, as is this one, Patak and Tom Papadinskis. Remember that 5-second penalty for Doug Metzel. That would drop him out of 4th place. So effectively the battle behind, for now, is the battle for 4th place, unless Metzel can gain at least 5 seconds of an advantage on those that he leads. Into turn 1 for this 3-horse race. Metzel a little bit wide there at turn 1. In real life now, the outside of turn 1 has a lot of paved runoff, but here in iRacing, it is grass and gravel. If you go out there, you'll almost certainly end up in the wall like you would if you did the same at the Kink or elsewhere on this track. This is a classic North American circuit. It will let you fight yourself. It will certainly assist you if you'd like to put your car off in the gravel at a track like this. Back to Ridgway and Pease down the backstretch towards turn number 5 in the slipstream here. It's 0.2 of a second, 2.5 of a second. Pease has been a little bit better on the brakes. See him close up right at the tail end of the braking zone, but great work there by Ridgway, and it stays constant. Nate Olson, last time by, did a 2:17.134. Busa did a 2:17.168. 300ths in difference in their lap times. Guess what? Both of them also just ran their best lap of the race. So did car number 7. That was Papadinskis, Tom Papadinskis. So did car number 3. Busa drops a tire at the exit of the Kink. But lots of best laps being run now as drivers are kind of getting comfortable with their position, with their equipment, and now can focus forward. But Busa is closing down just a little bit. 0.8 of a second. That's the closest it's been since lap 2. It's lap 8, and he's running out of laps this time. 12 minutes to go. Here's Carter Pease back on the tailpipes of Robert Ridgway into Canada corner. Will he try to outbrake him? Brake lights illuminate almost at the same time. He's got overlap into turn 12, but Ridgway closes the door at the apex and will cling to the spot for now. Through Billy Mitchell-Bendt. One second. It is just such give and take between the front two. I think if you swap the positions right now, I think you'd see the same thing. No one able to gain purchase. They are that close, running incredibly close lap times. This time, give it to Busa the advantage. A couple hundredths of a second quicker. Metzel falling into the clutches of Tom Papadinskas again, this time with 11 minutes to go. Last time these two were nose to tail, it was Metzel behind Tom, gave him a boot, collected a 5-second penalty that he will have to serve post-race. And all the while, Carter Pease continuing his assault on the rear bumper, if making the pressure that he's got on Ridgway. I mean, this is just incredible stuff here between these two. They have just been going back and forth. Defensive line here from Ridgway. He is feeling the pressure. Here comes Carter Pease to the outside, and this time he's going to have a bit of a better run here because he's going to late apex and try to throttle up, but didn't get enough of a run to get overlapped by turn number 6, so still unable to get alongside that number 1 car. There is enough pressure on the back of Ridgway's car to make diamonds. It's that hot and that under pressure right now. Into turn number 8. This is the closest battle on the racetrack. We'll take you to the next closest when we get there. Navigating through the carousel here at almost 100 miles an hour, now over 100, as they leave turn 10 and head to the kink, following this closely behind into this corner. This is ill-advised, but he's almost there. So close, right to the rear bumper. Ridgway's got it, and Pease wants it. Here he comes, looking left, looking right. He would go through him if he could. Now down the inside into Canada corner, just like a lap ago. And just like a lap ago, Ridgway defends, but slips slightly on exit. This is a phenomenal battle, and it isn't even for the front spot. They are going at it in an all-out brawl here for position number 7 here at Road America, the Sim Racing Chicago special event. Remember, we're on location live at Sim Racing Chicago here in Algonquin, Illinois, about 45 minutes north of Chicago, and enjoying what otherwise would be a pretty dreary day outside. We're inside in iRacing and competing for prizes. Across the stripe, 9 minutes left. 146 miles an hour for Carter Pease into turn 1. Slightly off the apex was Robert Ridgway. You see the gap just close just a little bit. It's feet and inches that we're going for, not yards. If he could just get past him, I feel the same about Bussa and Olsen. If he could just pass him, it sounds easy, doesn't it? Then I think the roles would be reversed. It's so challenging to find an advantage that if Bussa were able to get around Olsen, I think he'd be able to hang on to it, but it still remains 9/10. This whole gap has been within really 3 to 4/10 of a second since the drop of the green flag. And up into turn number 6. The ever-present Pease and Ridgway fight. Turn 7, clobbering the curb on the inside to try to carry a bit more speed through a fast section that leads you into a passing zone. Into turn 8 now. Carter closes in again, but look at the, a little bit of a slip there by the 1 mid-corner. But Pease was a little wide on exit, wasn't able to capitalize on it. This is the thing that when you're following another driver, the goal is make no mistakes, because if he does and you follow him into it, you've given away maybe your one opportunity to get by him. So you have to be ready to pounce on any opportunities that arise. That could have been one there, but what would you have done? You're leading into the carousel. You can't really make a pass there, at least not safely. Now look at the run through the kink. He's close, within a 1/10 and a half, but every single lap he gets to the quarter panel here, heading into the Canada corner, and is just not able to complete it. Here he is again. This time tries to spook the one into overshooting. He will not. Ridgway, nice defense. Grabs some gravel on corner exit. All the while, the timer ticking down. 6 minutes and 52 seconds remain. Working lap 11 of an estimated 14. Now here's the difference. This group is a little bit faster than the previous one. So if this estimation is correct, we could get 1 extra lap, which might change the dynamics of how some of these battles formulate. Remember, we're running on time. So if we get back to the stripe with 2 minutes and 16 seconds remaining, it's going to be very close whether or not it's a white flag lap. We'll keep our eyes on how the time unfolds, but Bussa needs every moment he can get. This is the longest 6 minutes of Nate Olsen's life and the shortest of Bussa's. make this an hour-long race, and I think Bussa would like the opportunity to maybe undercut on a pit stop or something. No pit stops. It's a sprint race all the way. Same here, although this has been a battle of endurance even in only 25 minutes of action. Carter Pease, a big run here. Hops out of line to the left. Is he going to try to outbrake Ridgway to turn 5? Yes, he does. Later on the brakes into 5. Up the inside, Ridgway leaves space, and Carter Pease passes for 7th place. Finally. Now, will Ridgway give it up just yet? I think not, but loses some ground here. It'll take him a lap or two to regain some momentum to get back by, but I don't think that battle's quite done yet. 9/10 of a second is all that separates Nate Olson from Matt Bussa. Through the kink. Ooh, Olson drops a tire on the left, keeps the wheel straight. That's the key there. If you get off wide, just hold the wheel straight. If you try to pull it back to the right, you got that left rear tire loaded up on the grass. It's going to be a bad day, so you really have to take advantage of the extra runoff you've got there and straighten the wheel out, take to the grass just for a moment instead of pulling the car back on course. But the lead is dwindling, half a second now. That was a great sector for Matt Bussa. It was over 8/10 of a second, now down to just 6 as they leave turn 14. This time through, 4 minutes and 53 seconds remain, and Olson, maybe a bead of sweat formulating now as we approach the last few laps here at Road America in Sim Racing Chicago. It is game on here at the front. Bussa now with an enhanced slipstream a little bit closer. That lead car will push a little bit more air out of the way and let Bussa close up even more. It's 4/10 into turn 1. Last time by, a 2:16.9. That was the best lap of this race. That is also the fastest lap we have seen today. Bussa is putting it on right now. He's got the slipstream. That's going to help, but he is lighting the fuse on the firework here and get ready for a show. 3/10 of a second. While this is happening, quick glance back to Pease and Ridgway. They're not done yet. Neither are the leaders. Olson has led this entire race, but with 3 laps to go, is feeling pressure from Bussa behind at turn number 5. It's down to 3.5 of a second. Bussa drops a tire in the gravel as they head up the hill towards turn number 6, and he is running out of time. Once you get there, passing is a whole different thing than getting to you. It's just such a different concept. You can close up the gap, and making that pass, that final surge, is sometimes the most challenging part of all. Through the carousel now, Bussa using a little bit of strategic off track there to try to carry some momentum and pass for position. Oh, trouble! Pease gets together with Ridgway. They collide in turn 6, and around goes the number 1 at the top of the hill. And this time, Pease off left, and does he track left just a little bit? And that's how they got together there. I think Pease drifted just a little bit. That's all that it took. Meanwhile, for the lead, the battle is on. Olson defensive into Canada corner. Here comes Bussa up the outside, side by side for the lead through Canada corner. Game on here. We're coming to 2 laps to go at Road America. Bussa chases Olson, and it is all for the marbles here. A seat to ride in the WRL or Champ Car on the line. Bussa going for it in Canada corner. Couldn't complete it. Final corner coming to 2 laps to go. 3/10 back as we come up the hill. Fully in slipstream as 2 other drivers. This time, Tom Papadinskis off at turn 12. How did he get there? Was he helped? There was a car behind him, and was there contact? No, he just drives in there a little bit hot all on his own, so no issues there for Papadinskis. He will drop a position and back to the lead again. Bussa hounding the back of Nate Olson through turn 1 and turn 5. This is where it's going to happen here. If it's going to happen on this lap, it'll happen at 5. The slipstream entering 3. Olson got a really good launch out of turn 3. That will help protect. You see him weaving from right to left to try to break that draft here. It's almost like Talladega. You got lines of cars forming up. You watch IndyCar, they do the same thing at Indianapolis, weaving to break the draft. Olson is feeling it right now. 2/10 back. Here comes Bussa to the braking zone at 5. Wider entry, later apex. Excellent line for Bussa. Up to turn 6 now. Into turn 7, Bussa is all over the back of Nate Olson. Moments from the checkered. 1 minute and 22 seconds left on the clock. Into turn number 8 now. Checking back in on the start cam, make sure we're not under white flag. We are not, so we should be getting one more lap after this one. We shouldn't be coming back to the checkers just yet. It's going to be close. Busa right behind Nate Olson. He's going to have about 6 miles left as they head through the kink. That's all he's going to have left to get by Nate Olson, who has led this entire race. Through the kink. Anticipation building. Olson defending slightly, about mid-track there, entering Canada corner. Busa is so close, seeing opportunity potentially slip away. 34 seconds remain on the clock this time. Through Billy Mitchell Bend. Busa will have one lap left to dispatch Olson. A slide there. You saw the counter steer, the correction, and he loses some ground. It's half a second now as they come up over the crest. White flag will be waving. 1 lap to go from Sim Racing Chicago here in Algonquin, Illinois, battling for prizing, and Busa lost some ground there. Half a second is the difference. He's got 4 miles to make up what he can. Down the hill towards turn 3. Busa gained a little bit, 3/10 back. Turn 3, such a critical corner. He throttles up. That was a good line, good run for Busa. He should close this down. You see the weave there from Busa trying to split, or from Olson rather, trying to split the draft. The 7 car has hit pit lane. Tom Pomadinskas has hit pit road. Here comes Olson and Busa into turn number 5. Game on here. Turn 5, turn 6. We are halfway through the lap and heading up towards turn number 6. You see everyone crowding over the Sims. Here comes Busa to the outside of turn 6. Nowhere to go. Crosses over through turn number 6. Now settling up for second as they head into the final sectors of Road America here. It is game on at the front. Olson has had the advantage so far this race. He has led 13 of the 13 laps we've run. Will he lead the final one? You don't need to lead everyone. You just need to lead the one where they display the checkered. Busa through the carousel. One good passing opportunity remains at this lap. It is turn 12. You might be able to force turn 14, but he slips a little bit through the carousel, and Olson gaps him just slightly. Now that's a lot bigger of a gap. Busa's off. Busa's got trouble. Oh, he's out of fuel. Busa is out of fuel. This race ran 1 lap long, and he has pulled the car off to the side and shuts the engine off. And just like that, his chance to win has been extinguished. Meanwhile, is the same true? I think it is. The number 9, Harris Pomadinskas, also out of fuel. And so is the leader out of fuel. Nate Olson creeping up the hill. It's all uphill from here. Billy Mitchell Bend and turn 14 are up the hill. Who's got fuel left in their car? Jim Patak has fuel left in it, but for how much longer? It's 13 seconds, 12 seconds. The final corner, he's not going to make it back to the stripe. Nate Olson is rolling to a stop. And all the while, Jim Patak, does he have fuel left? He is out of fuel as well. Sputtering. Does he have anything left? Does anybody have anything left? What a turn of events on the final lap. There's the pass. Jim Patak goes on through. Does he have anything? He's sputtering, but look at the hill, the mountain he's got to climb. 40 feet up at 30 miles an hour. Is he going to get there? Meanwhile, the 1 of Robert Widray, he has hit pit lane. He has fuel. He is a long way from home in Canada corner. Up the hill, and he's going to stop. Meanwhile, here comes the 1. But we are told that the way that this is going to finish is by where they were on the white flag lap. So this is all for naught for the number 1. But the final corner, here comes the 1, accelerating up the straightaway, refueled the car, and although he will actually technically finish the race first, we're going to go back a prior lap to set the finishing order of this one. So after all the dramas here at Sim Racing Chicago, celebration will go to Nate Olson for winning this race. 10-second penalty for Carter Pease for causing a collision, and a 5-second penalty for Doug Metzel. But we'll have to go back and look at how things were a lap ago to set the finish. The race ran one extra lap because of the pace that Busa and Olsen were setting, and that extra lap was enough to run the tanks out of fuel. What a dramatic and wild way to end this race. That was unbelievable. I would show you results, but they're not going to be accurate because we had to go back a lap. So we'll get you the finishing results here in just a moment, but that was insane. So the way this race will finish, we're going to go back to the previous lap to show you how things finished out here. The dramas in the late moments of this one. The winner of this race, we declared to be the driver that was leading at the white flag lap, which this was your battle for the victory here. It was Nate Olsen over Matt Busa, but it was so close. Where was Olsen here on the timing and scoring? There's Nate Olsen. So Olsen is your race winner, followed by Matt Busa in second place. Then behind them, we have to wait a minute to get the rest of them, but let's see who finished in position number 3. Olsen wins, Busa second. And then position number 3, we have to wait a little while to get the stripe. And that was Tom Papadinskis, I believe. No, that was Dimitri. Nope, that was Harris Papadinskis, position number 3. That's your podium. We'll look at the rest of the results a little bit later. We got the podium. I think we're good for now. But a dramatic, wild, and crazy finish to this one here from Road America. And just to remind you what happened, the prior races were 13 laps, which was the distance we could run on fuel. Busa and Olsen set a fervent pace, one that was fast enough to go one extra lap, and it was all they needed was to slow down a couple seconds. They would have run one lap less. They would have made it to the stripe, but the drama, regardless, was a wild one to watch. But that will do it for this for now. We'll stop back in a minute with an update. That was race number 3, the final race here from Sim Racing Chicago.